Each year, nearly 1 million Hoosiers attend the Indiana State Fair to explore the sights, the sounds, and the flavors that the great state of Indiana has to offer. But who are the people behind the stands? Where do they come from? These men and women are the staples of the state fair world, the inventors of the flavors we have grown to love each year. These are their stories. Among the hundreds of vendors here at the State Fair, many are here for the excitement of a new fair season. But for a few, the fair is merely a continued tradition of food and family. No one knows this better than Blake Reese, a fourth-generation vendor of Carousel Foods.
The location in some form has always been in my family. It started with the Millers. My grandpa Chester actually sat down the way farther down towards the Midway, and then his brother, I think it was Roy Jr., actually had his stand at this location on the corner. And then when he switched locations, my grandparents, they were just getting into the business, and it passed on to them. They've been here since then, since 1955. My grandfather sit here. My great-grandfather Chester Miller, he started in the 1920s. He was from Monon, Indiana. Or he was raised in Monon, and basically he was a railroad worker. And during the time, kind of historical background, they had it was a time, the telephone had just been invented. Just a lot of aeronautics was getting into it, and he was saving up to buy an airplane. He wanted to be a pilot. And when the stock market crashed, he lost his job on the railroad, and then he basically did some odd jobs around Monon. He did some cut wood, delivered wood, just various different jobs to try to make money. And he had a fish recipe that was in the family. It's still in the family. My grandfather knows it, but he started doing it at like church, social events, things like that. And the people in the town in Monon were like, "Hey, we really like your fish recipe. Would you like to do the county fair?" So he ended up going to the county fair with basically a makeshift tent, and he started, just selling fish. And he'd run out of fish every night, and there was no credit, so he would take his money from the fish that he had sold that day and buy more at the market. So he kind of built by saving and doing that over a period of time. And as the business got bigger, he kind of branched out and did some other things. Specifically, he went from doing that to doing a cookhouse at the fair, which was called an Indiana Cookhouse. It got its name in the state of Indiana because it couldn't be found anywhere else, because they had a big kitchen inside where they did homemade meals. Fairs in general have progressed, with the food, but we specifically, we went from doing the cookhouse, having, roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, corn, to barbecue. We did like barbecue ribs, chicken, dinners, things like that. And then we changed with the people. When the people stop wanting to sit down and eat with their families or whatnot, we have to change so we don't make money. So we went to more, unfortunately, more like quick foods, hamburgers, hot dogs, French fries, which have always been a mainstay at the fair, but now they're the only thing people really want. So we've kind of switched up on that. Then we got into more of the novelty foods because we did it one year at the Florida State Fair, and it hit really big. So we were like, maybe it'll work at every fair. Well, we've branched out. We also do disaster relief. We work with the government. Do it like if there's a hurricane that hits, we do disaster relief. So we're not just strictly stuck to the fairs. We also do. We have other venues that we work. But as far as fairs go, we've stayed in the business. We're not quite as big as we used to be. I mean, we used to have a cookhouse set up here that, we had just a lot of logistical problems, and we've kind of streamlined our business a little bit. We don't have any plans of ever leaving the business. It's always good.
History reminds us of where we've been and where we are going. But it's only one reason vendors at the State Fair return every year. And for some, history brings a new meaning to old traditions.
My dad and her grandfather, Dennis, were really good friends by being out here on the fairgrounds, and my dad has been interested in running this company almost my whole life. And we actually talked about buying it, had a few pieces of equipment actually on our back home in our warehouse, and then after Dennis passed away, Sharon, his wife, decided to keep it and wanted to run it a few years. And my dad said, I understand, it's no big deal, just let us know if there's anything we can do. And they came to my dad and said, we're interested in selling, are you still interested? And at that time, we had actually just got ready to look at another company and buy something else. And when that came up, my dad's like, I have to do it. And 1 minute we were talking about it, and the next minute he goes, we're buying Sutter's. And I said, okay. So yes, it's just, it went from one family into another family. My dad actually started in this business 23 years ago. And so I'm actually only second generation. It's just something that I've done my entire life. I'm 23 next week, so it's literally been 23 years. And we decided we would never, ever change the name. It just couldn't do it. One, people would stop buying it because it wouldn't be Sutter's anymore. It wouldn't be the same effect, but the King's Food Service side, we actually keep it two separate companies. We have a pizza stand. We do corn dogs, funnel cakes, lemon shake-ups right over there. We have the bakery here. It's coffee, cream puffs, and all that good stuff. The King Taters, we have 2 locations here. Fiddlesticks is actually another company that we bought. After Dennis decided not to sell, we bought Sullivan instead, which is also another vendor that had been on this fairgrounds close to the same long, almost as long as Sutter's. And we took over, and when we bought Sullivan's, they were no longer here at this fair. And when we talked to the fair board, we brought them back, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have it back. And it's now we have 2 of the oldest companies, including our own. So it's kind of been interesting over the last 10 years for sure. We do other events. We start off our season in April doing a couple air shows, and we stick around close to home. And I'm from Southern Illinois, and we have a festival in my hometown in May, and then we do a few things here and there, and then our taffy starts in July and does a county fair route, and then we come straight into Indianapolis, and it goes on into our state fair season, and we don't end until sometime in October. November 1st is our vacation, in a sense. This fair is such a good fair. I would love to say yes, we only work those few months, but we actually own a catering company back home, and so we do a bunch of Christmas parties in December, and we have a full-blown commercial haunted house in October. Yeah.
It's really cool.
So we keep pretty busy. But I can remember one of our first spots, me and my brother, who's 2 years older than I am, they stuck us in this little lemonade stand at, I think it was Street Machine Nationals in DuQuoin, and told us to make lemonade and didn't think we would do anything. Yeah, well, we rocked, because how cute is it when there's 3 little kids in there running a stand? But so since I was 8, basically.
Saltwater Taffy!
There are so many unique individuals that walk the state fairgrounds, but none may be more unique than a young man from southern Michigan with an ambition to reach the public through a different venue.
My name is Michael Sessions. I'm the mayor of Hillsdale, Michigan. It's a little town located on the border of Ohio and Indiana. I plan on graduating May of 2010. I'm a history major from Hillsdale College. I was elected when I was 18. I'm 21 now. I ran against the incumbent mayor as a writing candidate, beating by 2 votes, 670 to 668, and the rest is history. I did this before I was elected, actually. This is the second time I've been here. I was only here for a day before, but this is the first time that I've actually worked the whole fair. I worked this job when I was going into my senior year in high school. I was elected when I was a senior in high school, and I was able to raise enough money by working here to actually finance my campaign to run for political office. Being away from the scene back home, other things that I have brewing in the pot, kind of has to sit still for a while, and it has, and so that's a very, very difficult, challenging part. But you have to do what you have to do, and I'm fortunate enough to continue to do this while I'm going to college and being the mayor of Hillsdale. There's tons of similarities. One has to be just being able to interact with people, selling stuff, shaking people's hands and trying to get their votes. It's kind of similar in that regard. You have to be polite, you have to be friendly, and you have to make sure that you put on a smiling face the whole time. The hardest part is, people don't always understand. There's a lot of irrationality in politics. You're usually dealing with a public that is not, they're not as knowledgeable as you in making a decision. So a lot of times they don't understand, your thought process behind a decision, and that happens more often than not. And so it's kind of difficult trying to explain that over and over again to the person who doesn't understand. And but at the end of the day, and I've always lived by the philosophy that if I can live with my decision at the end of the day, I've done something well. Right now, I'm currently looking at a few different things. There's elections next year, and so I'm looking to put my services at task and perhaps organize a campaign for somebody else, manage a campaign, get involved in some way or shape in that regard. That's what I'm looking at right now. You never know what's going to shake out, but I have some things brewing there. And in my free time, I've been getting to different things, trying to make sure that people know who I am, and people do. So it's all good. I love the political field, so I just enjoy the politicking and whatnot, and I always have, and I have to say that I do love that first and foremost.
The booths the vendors use to promote their foods are sometimes easy to miss at first glance. While some vendors seek to find new and inventive ways to make their products stand out, others just build bigger tents.
My name is Sarah Jordan. I am a summer intern for the Indiana Pork Producers Association, and as part of my internship, I am co-managing one of the 3 pork tents that we have at the Indiana State Fair. I'm actually from a pork producing family south of Richmond, Indiana. I've grown up on a hog farm. I've been around pigs my whole life, and it's just it's a pride when you grow up with that. Some of the other people that work in our tent are also from pork producing families. It's our livelihood, so it's just like anything else to be proud of, but we think of ourselves as feeding America, feeding Indiana.
The Indiana Pork Tent Concession's been here about 41 years. We have 3 different concessions here on the fairground, 2 on the south side and 1 on the north side by Pioneer Village.
So this is a pretty big deal here at the fair.
It's huge. Yeah, we're actually the largest concessionaire on the fairgrounds.
Is that good pork? Delicious.
The Pork Producers Association got started about 1954. It's funded by what's called the Pork Checkoff Program, which is part of the Pork Act, which is an act of Congress. Basically, for every pig that a producer sells, a percentage of that comes back to the Indiana Pork Producers Association. So we're primarily funded by the Pork Checkoff Program. Since I'm in public relations, I'm working a lot with organizations who aren't always real excited about what we do. Mainly right now it's animal rights issues, how our animals are housed, And so the thing that we struggle with is just misinformation from people who don't understand why we raise animals the way that we do. Our producers have been raising pigs for many, many years. There's a reason we do it the way we do. So we're always trying to educate people, including those groups who may not agree with everything that we do, on why we do things the way that we do them to provide a safe and affordable food supply for you.
We do have to worry about our image because from the farming standpoint of it, not so much the food part of it, whereas the food part of it, we worry about food safety and, making sure we have a healthy product and that it's safe to eat and all those kind of things that come along. We do have a lot of pork pride.
Although many vendors at the fair can be considered staple items, some of the lesser-known vendors have been around for years, keeping up appearances behind the scenes. Off the streets of the fair, there are staffs of caterers hard at work in the kitchens.
My name is John Bartow, and I'm the owner and operator of Bartow's Catering Concessions. Catering business was started here on the fairgrounds in 1990, and a lot of the reasons why this catering business got started is that the catering on the fairgrounds was pretty basic. Pre-1990, a lot of the buildings hadn't been renovated yet, so as the buildings got renovated, there was more of a need for a caterer with more of the special events that happen on the fairgrounds year-round. A lot of the concessionaire vendors that travel, what we call a fair circuit, they may start in July and end in October. Again, I'll go back to where we're year-round. We have events going on, but we're here. Well, we expand our operation here in our concession area to outside and put in some signature items. We'll do more specialty type items that kind of help and are supported by the marketing department at the State Fairgrounds. They've had some signature contests, fair foods over the past few years. We've entered those and have won a place in that contest. So we bring those items to serve here. So we have a couple of concession operations here, but we also have our catering that behind the scenes is doing the backstage catering during the state fair. We're doing the Queen's Contest dinner. We're doing the Sale of Champions reception. All those little things that need anything from just cookies and lemonade to a state dinner are used, all over the fairgrounds. The two tents that we operate at the State Fairgrounds is that we have Bartow's Baskets that we put in 6 years ago. It is on the northeast corner of the Coliseum, and that is a location that was given to us that had some grilled items before us, but what we took is the grilled items and kind of put our touch as far as a basket type program together there where people can come and get everything together if they wish. We also have the north side location, which is our signature items. And again, I'll go back to where we have entered some of the contests here on the fairgrounds and done some work for commodity groups for the state of Indiana. And that's where those items have gotten a lot of press through radio and television and print. And they're unique items where people, we take things from Indiana. I mean, it's all Indiana pork or all Indiana beef. The bread is baked here in Indiana. There again, everything from Indiana Red Gold products this year of the tomatoes. So we had the sun-dried tomato pork burger with smoked Indiana cheese, with an Indiana egg bun, with a Red Gold tomato relish. So that's what we can bring to the table with this other location. So people will search that out because they see it in the print of what goes on with the marketing of the fairgrounds. The fair will always have a different complexion of setup. There'll be shifts. Sometimes vendors will leave, but let's just say, like I took over a spot where a vendor decided to move on in front of the Coliseum. I don't know how long the person had that spot there before I did, but that spot opened up, so I was able to fill that footprint. And I think if we would not enter that contest, if we did not participate, if we did not, we may not have that location. I think the biggest thing is, participating in things and involving yourself in things brings recognition to yourself, which is going to bring you opportunities.
From the faces of the vendors, we find more than just a smiling face. We find a family history thriving, a new outlook on old traditions, The start of a new chapter? A strong Indiana staple? And a driving force behind an American tradition. The coming together of individuals from all walks of life. That is the magic that is the Indiana State Fair.